Another huge Meta Quest update has just dropped. In this new update version 65, we've received some massive updates related to hand tracking. Hey guys, I'm Tetiana from Disco VR, and I was lucky to be one of few VR users who got the update rolled out to my Quest early, and one feature in particular related to hand tracking that kind of blew my mind. But before I got into that, let me tell you about some other features as well. So hand tracking on Quest 3 becomes snappier, more responsive, and intuitive. You will see that to switch from controllers to hand tracking and vice versa is taking less time than before. On top of that, this update considerably reduces hand tracking latency to only about 12 milliseconds. You can still see it when you move your hand super quickly, like here that I'm showing you, but for daily tasks and for gaming, this update provides an even better experience. Granted, I've always found hand tracking latency in Quest 3 pretty decent, but it is pretty awesome to see that they keep working on improving it. Maybe one day we'll see zero latency. Another hand tracking related update you'll see in version 65 is something called hand input suppression. What it does is basically when you're using a keyboard and a mouse while wearing a headset, the headset will ignore your hand actions because it will understand that you're using your hands for a different input method, and your gestures will be suppressed to help you avoid those unintended hand actions that could open some menus by mistake and just doing something you don't want to do. Basically, it will understand that you're doing something different and it will not track those hand actions during those times. It's really great to see that the hand tracking features become smarter and it's easier now to switch between different input methods. One other super cool update, this time unrelated to hand tracking, is for those who enjoy playing with friends and family. In version 65, we will see enhanced local multiplayer and boundary support with point clowns. What that basically means is that multiple players will be able to share a physical space and engage in a common immersive environment. So it will create a co-location for local multiplayer. That's pretty incredible. You will be able to play with anyone in your real physical environment, and your environment will be co-shared in VR so that your real position in space will be translated in your VR position in virtual space. It's kind of like what we have seen in the new Persona update in Apple Vision Pro. In that update, you also can have video calls with your friends who wear Apple Vision Pro, and you can turn on this spatial presence and they will kind of be in the same position in space in relation to you, even though it's not a local multiplayer. I assume it's going to work similarly, but I haven't managed to try it personally because I'm the only one in my household with this update right now, but I would imagine that it works pretty similarly. Amazing news for local multiplayers, and I can't wait to try it with my partner. Moving on, this update will also bring you the ability to view spatial videos and panoramic photos from iPhone to be viewed on Meta Quest headsets, which sounds to me like a direct copy of the same feature available on Apple Vision Pro, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Granted, viewing panoramic photos in Apple Vision Pro was one of the highlights of my experiences with this headset because I've had some panoramic shots made on my phone years ago, and I have never truly experienced them in such a cool, immersive way as I was able to do in Vision Pro. So it's really awesome that Quest now allows you to do that as well. There are some pass-through improvements as well, but not like the quality of pass-through improvements, but essentially putting you in the pass-through environment instead of those grayish black voids as much as possible. Meta is trying to get rid of those black void places as much as it can and replace them by the pass-through view that essentially will make you feel more connected to your real space, and that is really nice. I really didn't like being in that black void. I also feel like this was inspired by Apple Vision Pro, which never shows you any black or gray screens, and it keeps you in your surroundings at all times. Honestly, I sort of feel like Meta has learned so much about how a true and intuitive mixed reality headset should work, and now they are rapidly working on incorporating as many of those Vision Pro UI elements to the Quest's current software and hardware, and I must say I don't hate it. VR headset wars are always fun to watch, especially if they come with upgraded features for us users free of charge. And lastly, my absolute favorite feature that initially wasn't even supposed to come out in version 65, but I do have it in my Quest 3 is Quest 3 now supports hand tracking input multimodality. Multimodality means that users are able to use one hand as hand tracking and one holding the controller, with both of them working simultaneously. This feature sort of appeared in version 63 for some people, but it was gone in version 64. Basically, before, if you held one controller in your hand, and not in the other, you simply would not have the other controller whatsoever, and you wouldn't be able to see your hand. But the simultaneous multimodal controls are back and strong in version 65 update, and it works really so well too. The switch to these modes is instant, and I could do all sorts of things with this multimodality, like working on menus, opening windows, and even setting up my garden without any problems. Can you imagine how cool this feature will work with VR games? Just imagine a game where you can only use one controller as a gun, and then you use hand tracking with the other hand to reload it, pick up some ammo, or open doors, or anything really, just like in real life. Or you can even put your controller away in something like a physical holster and use full hand tracking at times where you're not using the gun until you need it, and then you pick it up again and the controller tracking starts working and you can shoot. So many possibilities, and this is truly exciting. I think that this kind of flexibility was really needed to advance some really creative features in VR gaming, but also for productivity in VR. There's a lot of possibilities there. Faster response time and multimodality are really important to make VR feel intuitive and natural. And version 65 is rolling out gradually. Of course, you might not have it yet, but you will. And while you're waiting to receive it, if you haven't already, you really need to watch my previous video about the most incredibly immersive mixed reality cosmic space travel experience I've ever tried in VR. See you in the next one!